What's good, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Meet Your Minds, brought to you by Rock and Right. This is your host Chris, and it's my honor to have with us today Brother Fever One, straight out Seattle, representing Rocksteady Crew, Massive Monkeys, DVS. You already know. What's good, brother?
Yeah, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, man? Just getting hype up in here, Glad to be on the show, man. Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor, Glad to be here. And yeah, man, just ready to get into it.
All right. Likewise, brother. Thank you for taking time off to do this. I know it's Halloween, it's hella busy. But
Oh, gee,
yeah,
man, we're chilling in the crib, It's been COVID and all that, and I've been staying home, spending a lot of family time, So it's been all love over here. Everything is cool, man.
all right, nice. All right, so I guess let's jump right into it. All right.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna start by bringing us kind of way back because I know you started, I believe, in 82, 83. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. The summer of '82,
All right.
was like when I started. Yeah.
So can you briefly share with us like how was the scene back then? Like what was like uh, early Seattle crews? Because I know Seattle there's like the Emerald City Breakers, Tacoma there's the
Yep.
High Performance Breakers. So what was
Exactly.
like the
Yep.
scene back then?
So, to start it off, like with Seattle, we out here on the West Coast, we in the '70s we had a lot of West Coast influence. Obviously, a lot of family in the Bay Area, and popping and bopping and strutting and all that stuff was, more popular as a street dance here in Seattle. In the late '70s, mid '70s, late '70s. So there was a street dance culture already established here in Seattle. But when breaking was being exposed by the media, when we first started being able to see it on TV, I think the first time I ever saw breaking was a show called 2020. They had a big, hip hop kind of. You can probably look it up. It's a whole show. They had, running on New York style, culture, which was what we know as hip hop. But they were talking about rapping and DJing and b-boying, and they were calling it break dancing. That's kind of how it was first. When we first saw breaking. Mind you, breaking had already been around for maybe 10, 12 more years before we even got exposed in the early 80s. So when we first got exposed, it was already, footwork was dope, style and top rock was already crispy. So when we saw it for the first time, it was one of those things like, oh, damn, look what they're doing on the East Coast. So when I went and saw some of my people in my neighborhood and who I'd go to school with or whatever, we'd hang out. I'd be like, yo, did you see like on TV how these kids are dancing in New York, the style, like the New York style of dancing? They're like, on the floor and doing like, these spins and like, to me, it just looked crazy. I got hyped when I saw it. And another reason why is because I was always, into popping in the street culture of like the West Coast style of dancing. But I could never do it. And, back then it was, straight up G's, gangsters, OGs, cats that you wouldn't want to mess around with in the street. So, if you were to try to step up or walk into a cipher, you'd get clowned. It wasn't like as happy as it is, today, where everyone's like, hey, come on, we'll teach you. It was more like you'd get dissed, people would laugh at you, they beat you up, whatever. So,
Hmm.
I chilled, I was like, yo, I can't pop, that's not my thing. But as soon as I saw it breaking, it was a wrap. I was like, oh man, I was a crazy Bruce Lee fan. As you know, Bruce Lee spent some time here in Seattle, so there was a huge
Right.
influence. Yeah. So it's huge influence, and we used to always go. To his gravesite and pay our homage to him and our respects as kids. So when we saw breaking and stuff like that, it really kind of reminded us of martial arts, and how they get down in martial arts. And so my first crew in the neighborhood was called the Grandmaster Breakers, kind of off of that whole martial arts tip. So the first crew I was in is Grandmaster Breakers, and we started in like '82 into '83. It was like really when we started, and that's when pretty much everyone in Seattle started breaking. Was around that time because that's when we were being exposed to it. There might have been like a couple people from the East Coast. One brother's name is Danny Molino. He had family in the Bronx, and he would come back with mad gear, dipped out. The Lees with the sewn in crease, and you know, um, the fat laces and all that. And then there was also a graffiti writer by the name of DC3, and he was living here in Seattle in the early '80s. He was from New York. He's a New York train writer, and so we had influence from New York at the same time. So there was like it was a cool thing. Everyone kind of just got into it at the same time because we had it was already a culture there, with the street dance culture of popping and bopping and strutting and stuff like that. So some of the crew names, I'll just kind of drop some of them off the top of the head. There was First Degree Breakers. There was West Side Crew, Seattle City Breakers, Emerald Street Connection. Let me see who else. D Roxy Crew was another crew that I was down with at a time. Seattle Circuit Breakers was another crew that I was down with for a while. After Grandmaster Breakers, we kind of split up and got with a couple older cats who kind of had their stuff together and were like had doper skills than us. And later on became a part of their crew, which is the Seattle Circuit Breakers. We were doing a lot of shows, and we were sponsored by Swatch, sponsored by Adidas, getting paid doing shows, in high school and stuff like that. So, I was already kind of into the whole, b-boying and dancing for life type thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a lot of history right there. So
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. There was, I mean, not to cut you off, but like Seattle was crazy, like from, I would say all the way solid from 1983 all the way to 1986. There was, man, hundreds of breakers, over maybe hundreds of crews, and any given time you could go down to Seattle Center. It's kind of downtown Seattle where the Space Needle is, the Space Needle, they have the building there. Everyone would meet there every weekend and they would have their battles there. So, this is before, of course, any type of cellular phones, pagers, or anything like that. Everything was word of mouth back then. And, word of mouth would spread throughout the whole city because, one person would say, yo, I know that one kid, he breaks. I want to battle him this Sunday or, this Saturday at the Seattle Center. And then someone would call someone up and be like, yo, my boy wants to battle your boy, what's up? And then, people would start hearing about it. And then by the time the weekend would come around, everyone would know that that battle would be coming up and people would be looking forward to it. And it would be just straight up raw, it was no judges, no, it was just straight cypher battles,
right.
Fights, all that, wiling out, I mean, it was a different time. But it was a great time. It was the best time ever, that I've had in my life was in my, early teen years, growing up in hip hop.
Word. So but my next question is kind of I always want to ask this, because I understand that you actually learned from Corey, Icey and Little Lab. Those two. I think a lot of us look up to them. Like that's like to be able to learn from not just one of them, but both of them. That's like incredible, man. So how is it like? How it feels like to be that student?
Man, I mean, first of all, crazy shout out to Corey, Icey, Ice Montalvo. He's my brother, to this very day. Shout out, I love you, brother. But the way that Corey, Icey Ice, and I actually ended up hooking up was there was a battle to be set up between High Performance, which was a Tacoma crew. Tacoma is just a city that's south of Seattle, not too far, maybe half-hour drive, 45-minute drive, something like that. They were setting up a battle with the New York City Breakers. And it was High Performance versus New York City Breakers. But this was at the time where New York City Breakers was already doing separate shows, and it was kind of towards then. I believe it was 1986. I'm really cloudy with dates and names and stuff like that, so don't quote me, but just kind of around that area, they were having that battle. And at the time, when New York City Breakers came to Seattle, the first crew that they actually hooked up with was Seattle Circuit Breakers, which is my crew. So Mr. Wave and Icey Ice came to my best friend's house. We're just hanging out, chilling, and their a lawyer came through. I mean, not their lawyer. What am I talking about? Their manager came through, and Mr. Wave and Icy Ice, and we had a practice spot in the basement of my homeboy's crib. Is where we would get down every day. It was a pretty big sized rec room, wall to wall cardboard. Had a sound system in there, and in comes walking Mr. Wave and Icy Ice, and it was like. Heads blown, we saw him in Beat Street, all that, and I wasn't even really expecting it. And from the very first day, they were so cool, so open to like just sharing their culture and their history. And that's where I first originally met Icy Ice when they came out to Seattle to enter this battle. And so there was a battle that went on in the Tacoma Dome, New York City Breakers versus Tacoma High Performance. And actually, that's around the same time I met Alien Ness, because Alien Ness was a part of the New York City Breakers at that time, and he traveled out with that crew to to battle High Performance. Okay, so I'm trying to remember who was all there, like the names. Because I wasn't there for the battle. This is the craziest thing, is I was crazy sick and I wasn't even able to go and check out the battle. I wanted to go so bad. But it was Mr. Wave, Icy Ice, Alien Ness, and it might have been Chino Action. I don't know. Like I said, don't quote me. You have to talk to Ness about that, because,
Right.
like I said, he was there and he'll be able to break down that whole battle. But one thing I can say that I did hear about that battle, because a lot of people were, especially in the hometown, were saying, "Oh yeah, High Performance. They took out New York City Breakers." It was like a big thing. And I never saw footage of it or anything. But the word came back was the stage was crazy slippery, because a lot of the cats that were breaking back then had like jerry curls, and they had like activator in their hair, so it would turn the stage into like super slippery, like
Right.
ice skating. So like if you do power like Icy Ice and you're trying to come off, a lot of it is from sticking and grabbing and getting off on the momentum. And if you can't, if you're slipping and sliding, it's not going to come out as clean. So yeah, this is like a little like note I had to toss in there, because there's a lot of these things you hear about is this culture, this folklore, these stories. They go down in history, and if you were there, it's crazy time to be. Yeah, so that was the time that I met Icy Ice, and the reason why I ended up training with him and learning more from him was he ended up staying here in Seattle to finish his high school. He wanted to get his diploma because he was just finishing high school. He was like his last year of high school, so he decided to stay in Seattle. And he did that. He got his diploma and graduated. And during that year that he was a senior, I was a year younger than him. I was a junior, and we would just hang out every day. He actually stayed at my best friend's, one of my best friend, Mr. Supreme, what up? Just giving my shout outs, known as Danny D-Rock back in the day. He was staying with him, and, I would just go over there and train with him every day. So that was kind of like how I became kind of like an understudy, I already knew how to break, but the things that he put me onto were just, it just took my level, it took me up a whole nother level, from my tops to just my footwork being clean to being straightforward. I'd be all over the place. Not saying that you have to do footwork a certain way, but he's the one that taught me about like how to be in control and know where you're going and change directions and things like that. It was pretty crazy.
Nice.
So yeah. So that's the whole Icy Ice part, and that was like when I was younger, when I was like 16, 17 years old, and he was I believe 17, 18 at the time.
What about like how do you go to meet? Do you meet at Lil Lab in the Bronx when you travel there? Or
Yeah. Met up with Little Lep. And that was another crazy thing, is that when I moved to the Bronx, I moved up into uh, this spot where London and Speedy, they were doing stuff with the New York City Breakers at the time. They were trying to do a resurgence, or not trying to, but they were bringing back the New York City Breakers. And I had gotten a call from London, and he's like, "Yo, I know that you were interested in coming out here because I was out there the year before in '95. or 96. And, I was hanging out with Pex, and I met London, and, we exchanged numbers, and he was like, yo, I got a spot in the Bronx, and Zulu Gremlin's coming up. And if you need a place to stay and you're still thinking about, moving your career towards the breaking, you could do that. So I jumped on the opportunity and I ran out and moved into the Bronx with Zulu Gremlin, London, and Speedy D. And from there, we were reaching out to, some of the New York City breakers, just to, keep in contact and, see what we could do about the resurgence. I knew I had met Pex, I knew Icey Ice, and, I had met Fable, and I met, a couple of the Rocksteady guys, when I was younger. They came out to Seattle as well, but, it was nothing that was really that substantial. But we reached out to Lep. I think Zulu Gremlin had his number or somewhere. I don't know how we got a hold of him, but he came over to the house and our apartment, and he came over on this little small BMX bike. And I was like, again, mind blown. I was like, oh my God, Little Lep just rolled up onto the spot on this little BMX
No.
bike. And I grew up riding BMX, so I'm a big BMX head. And yeah, he rode up on this bike, and it blew my mind. And from that very day, him and I just clicked. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like two small guys, but we clicked right away. And to this day, Little Lep is my brother. Little Lep, big shout out. I love you, brother. I talk to him, once or twice a week. He's doing well. So big shout out, Little Lep. And just the same way, I just ended up hanging out with him a lot. And every time I would hang out with him, the funny thing is, the first time I hung out with Lep, we were playing breaks, and just naturally, he just starts rocking, and moving and grooving. And like, I'm checking him out because I'm like, nah, this dude isn't just going to start getting down. Like, because we're just in this little small space, but, the brakes are on, and it's like he can't hold himself, he can't stand still. So he's just, little hand techs and stuff. And I was like, yo, I was like, yo, from that moment, I was like, I felt the spirit, and I knew what it was like to have someone's spirit transcended onto you. But when I felt that in my mind, I was like, that's it. That's the sauce right there. And, him and I, we just got together and we started building, and we were doing all kinds of crazy routines and doing a lot of hand techs. And he would pull out and pass the gat to me, and I would put it away and pull out. And then, and he showed me all these hand techs, and we would do routines. And he would do a lot of this hustle salsa rock that would go along with it too. That was really funky, Latin style Bronx flavor. So with, up rocking, there's different styles, and there's like that Brooklyn style of up rocking, and there's also a Bronx style of up rocking. And from what I understand and what Little Lep kind of put me up onto, it was, not a lot of jerks for sure, and there's a lot of like hustle and salsa kind of steps going on. And he was adding in hand techs along with that, whether it was just, doing something, telling you stink, or, pulling out a weapon or whatever it is. He was telling stories, and, from then, that's kind of where I started kind of getting more of this certain bounce and being able to rock my hands and do gestures and be able to move more naturally, because it kind of just started manifesting from what Lep was doing and what he was showing me. And he was straight putting me on, do it like this. And, when you can't pull out your gun and out of nowhere, and, you got to cock it and make, pull it back and make it look like, you're holding, or else it's going to look corny. It's not going to have that same effect. But he was like, but don't show nobody. Don't tell no one these moves. These are our secret moves, And he would always tell me, don't show no one the moves. Don't show it. But, obviously you're going to do it after a while, and people are going to catch on. And, it is what it is. It's a hand tech. It's not like he made it up or anything. But that was that mindset,
Right.
that mentality. He was like, yo, people be biting. Don't show my moves, And I was like, no doubt, I got you. And that's kind of what led to the whole like Gunzblazin thing. Was I was kind of handed down that style from Little Lep, and I was rocking that a lot, and I was doing Jam on the Groove at the time, and living in the Bronx, training with Ken Swift and training with a lot of the guys from Jam on the Groove. And Kenny, he would come up and train with me up in the Bronx at our spot because we had a really dope spot. Our whole like living room was a big mirror and just a whole wood floor and a loud ass stereo system. So living in the Bronx, you could just crank that up, 2 in the morning, 10, 11,
Right.
volume 10, volume 11, all the way up. It don't matter. So it was a dope spot. And yeah, after Jam on the Groove, I was training heavy with Kenny, and I was training for this battle that was coming up, and I was asking Kenny about some advice, yo, what should I do? Should I blah, 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 blah? And he was like, yo, you just go out, just go all out, guns blazing, yo, and I was like, word. And then, I just kind of like thought about it. And I was like, damn, guns blazing. That sounds crazy, as far as like the style and the alias. And that's kind of like really kind of personified how I like to break. When you see me break and you see kind of the way I move, you'll see some of the Icey Ice influence, some of the sticking and moving and trying to throw and trying to kind of move a little bit more elongated, I guess.
Hmm?
But when it comes to the rocking and the dancing and stuff, my influence is a lot more like Little Lep and, the styles, the hand styles and techs and the salsa steps and the hustle steps and things like that and the spins. Came from him. So yeah, the Gunzblazin, really another shout out, Ken Swift. I love you, brother. Man, I just been so blessed to be around some of these legends, some of these OGs, some of these pioneers, whatever you want to call them. I've been super blessed. I mean, from Wiggles to Fable to Frosty, R.I.P. I love you, Frosty. I love all these people, man, because they made such a huge influence and impact on my life. And yeah, I'm super grateful.
No doubt. Shout out to all these legends, brother. Shout out to Brother Florock. What's up, Brother Florock? Glad to
Yeah,
have you on the
Florrock, what
live.
up?
Glad to have you on the live today. Yeah, we're gonna talk about a story that pertains to you soon. But before that, yeah, I want to ask about the guns
Yeah,
blazing, but you spoke part of it already. So I guess actually I really want just a spontaneous one off my head. I remember the first one, if not one of the first videos I watched of you, brother, was the one you put up of, I believe, that's different kind of drops. You were putting up the video of all different kind of drop. You have like the kind of like a switchblade kind of drop in the
yeah,
slipping
yeah.
down. I was like, yo, that's fresh. So it's like,
Thank you, man.
how do you came up like that? Like, what inspires you to come up with these ideas, new ideas?
Okay. So drops, like for me, that was something that was really overlooked in our aspect of the dance. And coming up, I was taught that you don't want to run your moves, and you want to look fresh every time you come out. So if you do the same drop every time you come out, it's going to be stale and everyone's going to know what the next move is going to be or what you're going to do. Or, it's kind of like, used to see people top rock, and before they would go into a flare, they would like point in the air and stop and then go
Ah,
into the flare, And it's like it breaks the whole flow, you know what I mean? So like that was the whole point of that is kind of, you know, try to keep the flow.
right. Alright, so now we're gonna get to the floor rock part. Alright.
Yeah, okay, wait. Just real
Oh,
quick, as
okay.
far as the sorry, I just had
Yeah.
lost my point. Yeah, sorry, Flow Rock. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But what I was gonna say is with the drops,
Hmm?
um, what I would do is, you have basic drops, front drop, sweep, back, step back, whatever, spin down. And I would just dissect each drop and try to put my own flavor into the drop. Or I would slow it down, like super slow motion, almost like Tai Chi style.
Hmm.
And then wherever my body would naturally fall, then I would know that that was a natural position to go into another move. And that's the way I would come up with some of the things that would flow naturally, but would be on like a different plane than just like a basic move. So a lot of those drops, they come from the basics. It's nothing like really like I'm creating all these crazy things, but I'm just flipping a combo from that drop and then making it my own personal drop. And then what I wanted to do is try to put one out every week and just kind of blast it and let people know, like, hey, this is something that you can make just like top rock, just like footwork, just like a freeze. It's a section of the dance, and a lot of people overlooked it. So, on my YouTube channel, you just look up a Fever One on YouTube, and it has all of my drops on there and the names, and I just do them quick. It's just like a 30-second quick clip with a break on it,
All right, shout out to Q Rock. What's up, brother Q? Glad
Yeah,
to have you
Q, what
here.
up, Q? What up, what up? Yeah, Q.
All right.
Floor Rock, what up?
So, all right, let's go to fast forward to the year 1999. How was it? I during my last interview with Florak. Oh, yeah, by the way, brother Florak, we gotta do an interview again, definitely for sure. So we talked briefly about the battle from Florak's perspective as the one that's gonna uh, kind of induct you and Ness into Rocksteady. So now I want to hear your perspective as well. Like, how was it like? What, like, did you know? Was there any signs that, or you're gonna do something to join Rocksteady that day, or what's the event like? Because I remember you and Ness, you actually battled before that, and many rounds before that, and after the battle, I think then you were told to battle Florrock and Habs, right? So
Yep.
what it feels like, like I said before the battle, how do you think, like, why name yourself Gunzblazin and Rusty Shank, like the
Yeah,
secret persona, not letting people know who's coming to the battle and stuff like.
yeah, definitely. So, excuse me. So it's a crazy story, kind of how this all came about. I would say maybe a couple weeks prior to that battle. See, Alien Ness and I had been partners for a long time. Going back into back to '87 is when I first met Alien Ness, because he moved out to Tacoma to stay with High Performance the same time that Icey moved out to Seattle. So he was chilling in Tacoma, and I went out and I met him during that time. So I've known Ness for a long time. And then when I moved back to New York, we ended up connecting together again, and we started dancing together. And then when we started doing shows with Fable, with Hierophysics, we got a really ill chemistry together. We were going off. And since we were doing a lot of shows with Fable, we were getting attention, and Frosty was doing shows with us. Big shout out Fable too, man. If it wasn't for Fable, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. Honestly, he was a really huge impact in my life too. But not to fall too far off of that subject. Yeah, when Ness and I, started getting together, we started getting looks from Rocksteady. So like, I think Mr. Wiggles and Frosty Freeze and a few other, Rocksteady heads, were like in Leg's ear and was like, yo, Ness and Fever have been blowing shit up lately, we should try to get them down with Rocksteady, blah, blah, blah. And we had a meeting with Legs because we were doing a show, Hierophysics show, and Legs, I think, was a part of it. And after that show, we were talking about Rocksteady and stuff like that. And, he didn't really ask us, like what you guys would think if you were down with Rocksteady, but he was just kind of like putting it out there, like, this is what Rocksteady is, and what do you guys think? And I told him straight up. I was like, yo, brother, I got mad respect. But, I grew up in the 80s, and Rocksteady is like the old school 80s Rocksteady. And then in the 90s, it changed. It was like, especially in the early 90s, B-Boy Summit, there was like at a point, there was a West Coast Rocksteady. And there was like so many people in Rocksteady, like I couldn't even, point out or say who was who. So like for me, I was like, I would rather be down with a crew that's more solid, something smaller that doesn't have a bunch of chapters everywhere. Nothing to take away from Rocksteady or anything, but and Legs was like, yeah, I respect that. So we were just kind of giving our opinions back and forth. But it was kind of something that was being floated around between some of the other members. Oh yeah, you should get down, and people started asking us. So Legs was throwing this battle called Breakbeats in the Bronx, and it was a 2-on-2. So Ness and I were like, we got to enter this, we'll enter it because we got to enter this battle regardless. And we kind of like had this feeling like, man, there's something up, Legs just happened to throw this 2-on-2 battle kind of last minute. And, we're going to enter this. And so when we entered it, we weren't going to tell anybody we were going to enter it because a lot of people in New York, they were already entering battles, and we were just chilling. A lot of times we were like kind of the older cats, and we would just chill on the sidelines and watch and battle in ciphers or get down in ciphers. And so what we decided to do was that we had our aliases already. We were known as Gunzblazin. Some people know me as Gunzblazin. I had a video out called Gunzblazin, and since Ness was my partner, he was known as Rusty Shank, and we had let people know kind of our aliases. It was like one of them things, Wu-Tang, people had aliases, just like, Fever One, aka Gunzblazin, Alien Ness, aka Rusty Shank, and from there we were like, let's flip it again and let's get aliases to our aliases. So we got Bullet Holes and Stitches. So Bullet Holes and Stitches were our aliases. So when we signed up in the battle and they said the name Bullet Holes and Stitches, they wouldn't know who it was even when we walked onto the stage, or the cipher. So on our jerseys we put Bullet Holes and Stitches. Or no, Gunzblazin and Rusty Shank. I still got mine. It was Gunzblazin and Rusty Shank on the jerseys, but we entered as Bullet Holes and Stitches. So when they said, oh, the next battle is blah, blah, blah versus Bullet Holes and Stitches, everyone started laughing, because the name sounded funny. But then me and Ness walked in and everyone was like, oh, damn, So they already knew we came with the outfits on, we had the aliases. Even people were asking us if we were going to battle. We're like, nah, we're just chilling, because we weren't wearing ours, we were, had our gear hidden. And so like no one knew we were going to enter the battle really until the actual battle went on, until we stepped onto the floor. But here's the thing, is that when we stepped into the battle, when we walked into Hunts Point where this battle was being set off at, everyone from Rocksteady was there. Like, it was tons of people there. Fable, Frosty, Little Lep, Mr. Wiggles. It was funny, actually. At the end of the story, I'll tell you. But yeah, so we ended up seeing Floor Rock and Heps at the jam, and I went straight up, and me and Ness, we just looked at each other. I was like, yeah, you know what's up. I was like, Legs is gonna have us battle these guys after we battle everybody. I was like, okay, so, we set our game plan set up so that we, would know that we were going to have one last battle, because we just, it was kind of obvious that we were going to battle to get into Rocksteady, but that wasn't like our mindset. Our mindset was like, let's get through these battles and then let's go at it head with Heps and Floor Rock. Yeah. And so, that was a crazy battle too. I mean, just to kind of move on and talk a little bit about that battle with, they had it set up. So I guess where I was battling Heps Fury and Floor Rock was going to be battling Alien Ness. That was kind of like the setup, right? But what they wanted to do, Legs was like, you guys got to go first because it's Rocksteady kind of thing or whatever. I was like, all right, and it was funny. We were going to do this little small routine, and we started it, and then I was like kind of fucked up, and I just bailed. I was like, you know what, fuck the routine, because I know Rocksteady doesn't have routines. Two guys, they might have, but there was two guys from two different states, and we was like, we're probably just going to be going head up. So I just bailed out. Ness went out first time. Floor Rock went out. I went out. I don't know. I'm getting mixed up right now a little bit, but what happened was during that battle, I had Ness go out 2 times in a row. So what happened, instead of me having to call out Heps Fury had to call out me. So we turned the tables on him. So it was a maneuver. It was like a tech, a battle tech. So basically, it was like, Ness, go throw a little, small boop, boop, bat, run. Don't waste any energy. Just 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And then obviously the next person that's going to come out is Heps Fury. And so what happened, and I believe, in Hep's mind, he probably didn't even know that he was going to go out next. He's probably thinking like, oh, Fever's going to call me out and I'm going to do this. But Ness came out, and then I was just like, what? And then Epps was like, oh shit, and then came out, and then that's when I came at him, So, and then we switched around. So then after, Heps went, I went, then Floor Rock went, and then Ness went. So it was kind of like we switched it. So a lot of people, when they watch the battle, they're kind of like thinking like, oh, what happened? Or why did Ness do this little small run or whatever? Or, Floor Rock is battling Fever now. But it just switched because I wanted Heps to call me out. Because, Legs was like, you guys got to go first. I was like, all right. You know what I'm saying? I got something for that.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. So like ever since then, like from the time you joined Rocksteady and to now, like what was it like? What would you consider to be like your most memorable battle? Like be it with Rocksteady or with like Massive Monkeys? I don't know. Like what would you think most memorable battle ever?
Man, I mean, there's really two. I mean, it's so hard to pick. It's either that battle that I just spoke on, where we battled, I would say maybe 6 or 7 crews, and then after battling 6 or 7 crews, going head to head with Rocksteady for like 4 or 5 rounds. And you could see at the end of that battle too, like I was gassed. I tried to do like some windmills, pushed up, tired, and at the end, Legs came up, yo, you guys down to be with Rocksteady, and we are like, yeah, we're down, that's what's up, and to be honest, that was the only way I wanted to be down with Rocksteady. I wanted to battle to get in, and I wanted to be on the front line. I didn't want to be, oh, Seattle, Fever, Rocksteady, West Coast chapter, like, nah, man, I'm putting my stamp on the game, so like, that was that. That's why that was like probably one of the most memorable battles until I had my last battle, which was last year at the V1 Battle of the Gods. And man, hairs are standing up. I just want to say, one love, rest in peace, Karim Barouche, man, I love you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to battle. Man, another huge, man, honor just to be able to battle that brother. And, you know, being in my career dancing for like 37, 38 years. I was 49. I'm 50 right now. But it was just one of those things where I could just kind of stamp in my career of b-boying and being like, I was able to do it, do it all. You know what I'm saying? Like Battle of the Gods, big shout out. I'm just gonna keep shouting people out. A big
Right.
shout out. To Top Nine, Tony, Top Rock, the whole crew. I can't just name everybody in the crew, but you guys know the deal, man. I love you guys too, man. Big ups to Top Nine, everything that they do out in Russia, especially with the V1 battle. They have these V1 battles that go all year round with beatboxing and beat making and DJing and man, it's crazy. They have so many competitions, street drummer competitions. Uh, I did two of them. The first V1 I did was with Ijo from Big Shout Out Ijo. He's house dancer, and I just did like a kind of exhibition, kind of battle type thing, with him. And then following right after that, I was able to do the Battle of the Gods with Karim Barouche.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say I don't know, man. It's a toss up. Those are my two. I can't pick one, man, because they're just so big. I mean, like with Battle of the Gods, um, it was a huge accomplishment for me because at the time, my body, from breaking over like 37, 38 years, my body's been really beat up. I mean, people see me dance and like, yo, you still look young, but, I've been through injuries. I had sciatic nerve problems, shoulder injuries, but nothing that's been able to like really take me out of the game where I had to stop dancing. So even all the way up until that point, when I was training for Battle of the Gods, I was training my butt off. I was running up and down stairs. Shout out Hossein. Hossein, Massive Monkeys, put me on to just these training techniques of running up and down stairs like they're rounds. So I found this long flight of stairs outside, and it would take me about like 30 seconds to 40 seconds to run up these flight of steps, which is about as much time as I would take in a run. And then I would jog back down, and that would be my opponent's round. And then I would run back up my round and then jog back down. And I would do 7, 8 rounds of running up and down these steps to prepare me, because Battle of the Gods was 7 rounds minimum. So if you go do Battle of the Gods, you have to train, you have to prepare. And yeah, man, that's how I was able to do it. I was just, I was on my grind. That was my thing. So yeah, Battle of the Gods, big shout out.
Well, no doubt. Shout out, rest in peace, Karim Barouche. That watching the battle live was really inspiring for me to have the chance to witness it live. And I think, just try to building on that topic, now that Brother Karim has transitioned, thinking back on the battle, what it feels like, knowing that does it add particular, does that the fact, make that battle particularly special for you?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, here's the thing. So I'm gonna kind of touch on 2 different things. First was just like a few months before that, I lost my best friend. He passed, and he transitioned, to the next life. And that was another like huge inspiration for my training. My brother Soul One, I love you to the day I die. Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace, Soul One.
Yeah, man, exactly. And that was my brother. That was the guy, my best friend, who I was breaking with from 7th grade. So yeah, man, shit. It was like that was the thing that I was like training for. I was training for him to really represent. And then after, obviously Kareem passing, was a huge hit. I couldn't believe it. It was like, man, months, after the battle. And so this is something that like will be with me, forever, till the day that I die. These memories, and they're so special. And it's funny, because I'll go back to my original point that I was going to make, was when I was originally going to do Battle of the Gods. So I was called the year before, 2 years before. I think it was Frederick or Freeze or someone was doing Battle of the Gods, and Tony hit me up, and it was maybe less than a month before the battle. He was like, yo, we got this battle with Freeze. Are you down to come out here and battle? And I was like, first, I just started a job, so I couldn't really take time off last minute for this brand new job that I had. And then also I was like, damn, this is Battle of the Gods. And I'm like, it's less than a month to train for this huge event that I would take super serious. It's not like just any battle. Battle of the Gods to me is something that you have to show and prove, and your peers are the ones who decide, like, you're the one who's, really on that level to be in Battle of the Gods. So, I had to decline because, for one, I had a new job. I couldn't take the time off. And secondly, I wasn't, physically ready. And I was just like, it sounds kind of like a setup. Like, damn, Battle of the Gods, you calling me like 2 weeks before, And I was like,
right.
Nah. And I was like, damn, and they had another one. The next one, I think, was the one with Kenny and Maurizio versus Orko and brother, what am I trying to say? Orko and from Air Force crew, Little Caesar. Okay, yeah, I'm not that burnt. So yeah, they had that battle, and then, during that time, Tony was like, yo, I still want to get you out here for Battle of the Gods, but who are some of the people that you want to battle? And I told him straight up, I was like, I want to battle some cats that are like from my era. A lot of people get it twisted and think that I'm from like the 90s or I'm from the late 80s. But like, I was breaking in 1982. I was 12 years old. You know what I mean? And that was a long time ago. And there's not a lot of people who were breaking in the early 80s. There's a handful. And I don't want to put anyone on blast. I was naming people, I was naming names, and they were asking people, and they were declining. Maybe it was the same thing. Maybe they weren't ready. Maybe it was last minute. I declined one too. You know what I'm saying? But my whole thing was like, I wanted to battle someone that was from my era. And then they asked about Kareem. And I was like, oh man, I had so much respect for Kareem and his crew and his background. And I knew about his style, his smooth, like cat-like style, and he had like ill power. And I was like, yeah, man, that's a guy who I would love to battle. It would be a huge honor, to battle Kareem. And when I started looking up his history, he started, I believe, in '87. So he kind of started when I kind of stopped breaking, like professionally I was really like kind of breaking from 82 to 86, 87, like hardcore, and when Corey moved, it was kind of just me breaking by myself in Seattle in like 87, 88. I go to a party and break and people clown on me. You still do that whack played out dance spinning on your head, you know? So I'd be getting dissed for breaking. But, that was kind of like my point is that even though he started in the late 80s and I would say it's a little bit after me, I was still so honored to battle him. And another thing I wanted to say is Kareem, he's the most like down to earth, humble, polite. I mean, I just can't say more good things about this brother. When I met him, I never met him. Had an opportunity to sit down and so like before we battled, it was like a few days. I sat down and I introduced myself and I said it's such an honor to meet you. And he was like likewise, and we hung out and we vibed. And even though we knew we were battling each other, it was all love, man. And we have a huge respect for each other, man. And I just like to say, man, thanks again to Tony and Top Nine, the whole crew, for putting me onto that battle, because it's one that I'll never forget.
Definitely. Shout out to Tony Rock. We won, one of the best jams ever, for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Ever. So, talking about something light, a little bit non-dance pertain, like,
Speaking of light, hold on. I'm gonna turn the light on. It's getting dark in here. Hold on. Bing.
alright?
A little better, maybe. Yes,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Seattle. It's just getting dark here over here, but all right.
So, like, kind of like, any of you, like, a last question, life in general, like, what are the current things and future plans after pandemic? Let's say, right off the head, the first thing you want to do when this thing over.
First thing I want to do when this thing's over, man. I mean, I know this is gonna sound pretty like corny or whatever, but man, I would love to go to a jam. I mean, go to a jam that's just packed, with all my people. I mean, not like I would love to go to a local jam. I mean, I always represent every local jam here in Seattle. Whether I'm trying to judge or just be there, I'm always going to represent Seattle and the crews out here. But man, the best thing about this culture, and it's really been able to bless me, is the traveling and being able to meet all these, beautiful souls all over the world. And to be able to, say I can like pick up a phone and call up anyone in any country and, hey man, what's up? And feel like we have that bond, and that connection like brothers or sisters, brother and sisters, it's something that this culture has brought to us it's richer than any monetary value can ever give, and so I've been blessed to be able to be a part of this culture. So any way I could give back, I want to do, try to talk about the history or whatever I could do, for the culture. But the other thing is like, not to like get crazy off track or anything, but I've been getting crazy into BMX lately too. So I've been riding BMX bikes again because I've always kind of I stayed off of that when I was breaking. And the main reason is that when I was riding BMX, I was pretty all in, and I'd get injured. You fall pretty hard, you crash, and you get scraped up knees and crazy stuff like that. So I put it on the back burner while I was breaking, and then now since I'm a little bit older and I can kind of throw my body around and have some fun, I'm getting a little bit back into the BMX action. So y'all be looking out for me. I'll be pulling wheelies in your neighborhood.
Word.
And yeah, man, man, just, that's the whole thing, man. This is going to be over. The pandemic's going to be over soon enough. If everyone just takes care, man, just mask up and just stay inside. I know it seems like a long time, and a lot of people, they have their beliefs or whatever, but, there's a lot of people that are doing the right thing by, keeping the numbers down, and you're seeing it, like here in Seattle and in Washington, we have, low numbers here. And one of the reasons I believe is because a lot of people are very, cautious, and people stay home too, it's like it rains a lot here, so we work on our skills, so yeah, man, just take care of yourself so, we can all get out and have that jam, have that big jam again, whatever it is.
Right, right. Nice, nice. So brother, before I let you go, and it's been quite long, this series now, Meet Your Minds, we're trying to do like, to cover veterans, unsung heroes of each city, really. So, starting off with Seattle,
Mhm.
but definitely I want to build on more in Seattle. That I know you name drop brother Supreme the Rock already. Shout out to Supreme the Rock.
Yep, shout out Supreme.
I didn't know he break back then too. So that's
Oh
interesting.
yeah, man. He was nasty, man. He had super clean, dope footwork. He had this move. I don't see a lot of people doing it, but it's the half flare, and then when your legs are in front of you, you drop straight onto your back like a coin drop and do backspins from there. So that's how I used to go and do his backspins, was from a half flare and drop onto his back and spin. It was clean, So yeah, man. Big shout out, aka Danny D Rock. You know the deal. Seattle
Nice.
Circuit Breakers. Yeah, man.
Anyone else
Other,
in particular? You got a
man,
shout
I
out?
mean, wow, there's so many. I mean, my crew, first of all, DVS crew, big shout out, Hughes, Sneak, Ray One, Went, um, Jeromski, Massive Monkeys. I mean, I can't name them all, but man, you guys know who you are. Big shout out, Massive. Big shout out, Seattle crews, Dance Brooms, Felons. There's tons of vicious puppies. The scene out here is on a serious come up. So even before the whole COVID thing and that thing shut down, man, our scene was looking really nasty, and I can't wait to see what people have been working on since they've been in the lab, because that's one thing that people in Seattle do, man. They get in the lab and they work, and then they come out and battle and do shows and whatever have it. So just, big shout out. Oh, another thing, big shout out to my people's Circle of Fire,
Hmm.
Orb, Latif, Free. I love you guys. These guys have been my brothers since day one. They were, here in the early 90s. Boss Crew, early 90s. Everyone from them that turned into Massive Monkeys later on. But, a big shout out. Orb and Latif just came out with a video. So if you check out my Facebook right now, you could check out their video. They, MCing and stuff, and they got ill music. So check them out too, man. Beacon Skills, Lonzo, my brother. Yeah, man, there's too many, man. We could just keep going. Supreme LaRock, he just dropped an album that they put out, a crew that I was down with, I was dancing with, called the Incredi Crew in the late 80s. They just dropped an album. And yeah, man, big things happening in Seattle, man. Graph tip, music wise, we've always been doing big things, man.
Hmm.
Shout out Topspin, all the DJs. There's so many DJ crews out here. I mean, we're way up in the cut, way in the Northwest. We're in the
Right.
corner here. So a lot of times, we get overlooked a little bit because, the bigger cities like, Frisco, LA, Philly, New York, Florida, Miami. A lot of times you hear about those big cities, but, Seattle, we're a big city. But we're just kind of tucked away up here. But when you come up here, you'll feel the vibe. You get the city vibe. We got a beautiful city out here, and we got beautiful nature too. So, man, I love my city. And I love the Bronx. Big up
Or
BX.
VX,
That's another
yes.
big part of my life. I lived in the Bronx for 10 years. And I'm not a Bronx native, but I was a Bronx resident for 10 years. I stayed in Brooklyn off and on, for a little bit, but I was just like staying in the Bronx. TFS, big shout out, ready to rock. My people over on the east side,
Word.
East Bronx. worldwide, man. And like I said, man, I could do shout outs for days. And I didn't write them down because, it would have just been me reading for days, but, just off the top of my head. And like I said, man, just to end it off on a positive note, man, much love to my brother Soul One DVS. Much love to Frosty Freeze. Much love to Karim Barouche. And so many others that have transcended into the next life. We do it for you. We do it every day, just to shine and let you know that it's not in vain.
Definitely, definitely. Wow, brother. Thank you so much for
Yo,
this,
thanks,
brother.
Chris. Thank you, brother Ski, man. You're the man, man. Thank you so much for everything that you do. I'm loving the interviews. Keep up the rocking. Everything's looking really smooth, my brother. So
Thank you.
yeah, man. Like best to you and your what do they say? Your travels or your mission or whatever it is. What you're into, man. Best wishes to you, man.
Definitely. Can't wait to travel again. Go to the
Yeah, man.
gym,
Me too.
travel to Seattle. We gotta go to Bruce Lee's grave the next. Didn't get to go in next time, brother. Definitely.
Hey man, anytime, man. Anytime you're in town or anytime anyone's in town, man, hit me up. Don't be shy. Not saying that I'll be able to put you on my couch or go hang out or whatever, but if I got the time, I'll come and hang out. I'll show you around. I'll take you to Bruce Lee's gravesite. We'll go to his favorite restaurant, which used to be down across the street from the Massive Monkey studio and everything. So yeah, man, we have a great time, man. And hopefully I can make it out to China one day, man. I haven't been there, and really look forward to making it out there soon.
Definitely, we gotta do that, man. So
Yeah.
once again, thank you, brother, and thank you everyone for tuning in. This is Media Minds brought to you by Rock and Rights. It's your boy Chris.
Yeah.
And don't remember to stay tuned to the next episode if you like this as well, because next episode we're gonna go to Miami, featuring my brother Speed Lakes, Pro Am.
Oh,
You already
Speedy
know,
Legs.
so stay tuned. We got pretty mad people representing different cities, man. So, alright, thank you, brother
All right,
Fever.
brother.
Happy
Yo,
Halloween.
peace.
Happy
And
Halloween,
thanks
guys.
everybody for tuning in. Q, thank you. Everybody, Floor Rock, man. Can't say enough, man. Appreciate you guys. Peace.
Alright, peace, brother.